right. Hey, listen, delighted to be with you here today. Wasn't last night fun? Let's give it up for the organizers for that. I was worried that there might not be enough food, but it seemed like there was ample. You know, I love presenting, and I get to present literally all over the world and to various associations and companies and so on. And it's kind of interesting. I've kind of become a student of presenting. You know, I'll sit in on other sessions, and I always ask myself, so what makes a good presentation? What makes a good session, you know, good takeaways? And I've come to the conclusion that any world-class presentation comes down to basically one thing. And that's the volume of applause that welcomes the speaker to the stage. So if you want this to be world-class, you got to do better than whatever that was you just attempted, okay? Here's Chester! There you go. That is a cheap trick, and you will use that next time you present, yeah. Let me introduce you a little bit to my co-author, Adrian Gostick. We've been studying workplace culture, teams, leadership for over 2 decades now. He's the good-looking one with the hair. And it's interesting that as we took a deep dive, we looked at the numbers, profitability, retention, you know, innovation, and so on, that there was always this common thread in every one of those high-performance organizations and leaders and cultures. And it's not what you might expect. It's really interesting. It came down to gratitude. Isn't that interesting? That was the common thread. Now, as we presented and so on, we wanted to develop symbols, you know, tokens and rituals. So one of the things, we wrote a book called The Carrot Principle. Really simple premise. Somebody on your team does something great, you notice, you recognize, you give them a carrot, right? So I want this to be really interactive this morning. If you participate, you could win a carrot. You sat close, your odds are good. Yeah. So if the carrot is the symbol of reward and recognition, the opposite of the carrot would be what? The stick. Who said that? Over here. Raise your hand. Incoming. Good catch. Cowboys could have used you last Sunday. Yeah. Just kidding, but kind of true. So I love that idea, and it's interesting. I love that we picked up nicknames. You ever do that? You pick up nicknames? Like we did some work with DHL in Bonn, Germany. They dubbed us the Deacons of Dankeschön. Kind of fun, yeah. The ministers of motivation, the high priests of praise. In India, they called us the Dalai Lamas of workplace traumas, which I thought was kind of clever. But the Toronto Globe and Mail, which is Canada's largest newspaper, I grew up in Canada. Do we have any Canadians or can locate Canada on a map? Yeah, been to a hockey game? It's all kind of the same thing. They dubbed us the apostles of appreciation. Total props for your high school reunion, you know. So if we could bring up the music, my good friend, over there on the sound table, to hear the gospel music that's supposed to be playing right now. Let's try that again. We'll back up just a second. They called us the apostles of appreciation. Imagine. There we go. Thank you. Let's give it up for the AV group over there. Nice, come back. So, my brothers and sisters here in Fort Worth, Texas, is the apostle of appreciation. I'm not here just to give you the case studies and the numbers. Oh, no, I'm here to preach and to teach the power of the carrot. Can I get an amen? Can you put your hands in the air? Let it sway. Like, give me a little hallelujah. Going to be more fun if you participate. Yeah, there you go. So we'll have some fun. That was a little cruel, so carrot for you over there. Yeah, good catch. So we'll have some fun, and I love that you value your culture. You've been around for decades now. And what I love about what you do here at TTI is it always comes back to people. Am I right? And people is culture. People is culture. Now, I'm going to talk to you about a lot of different organizations and cultures and share with you some data and so on in organizations that have nothing to do with what you do. Don't worry about that. Think, what is the principle? How can I take it back for my team? Fair enough? So overdrive. I love this idea of how do we get into overdrive? Not just muddling through, not just going down. We kick it in, we make a difference. It's overdrive. There's a difference, right? Now, in the studies that we did, we correlated it in one of our publications called All In. This was the roadmap to an all-in culture. Not a good culture, not a great culture, an overdrive culture, right? And we're not going to go through everything. We're going to concentrate a lot in the core there on engage, enable, and energize. But again, think what are the principles, what are the things that other people did that I can take back to my teams? Well, we studied some really interesting cultures. One was the Hard Rock Cafe. Actually did it in London at the original. It was really fun. How many of you have been to a Hard Rock Cafe. Had fun. Yeah, no, it's not for everybody. I get that, yeah. Years ago, I was working in New York City. We worked in Manhattan, and Hard Rock was a smaller restaurant. It was on, 59th between 9th and 10th. Now it's in Times Square. It's a big thing. I don't think it's as much fun, but that's just me. And the restaurant had a really simple configuration: upper balcony, lower bowl, right? And you work in Manhattan, and there's a lot of pressure and stuff. Every now and again, you say, look, we just need a break. Let's go to the Hard Rock for lunch. Burger, shake, little rock and roll, decompress. So we're there, and this time they put us in the upper balcony, and in the lower bowl were a bunch of college kids celebrating like whatever. Spring break was coming up, the exams were over or whatever. When this song came over the loudspeaker, now if you can name this tune, you get to win a carrot. Okay, you ready? This tune came out, can you name this tune? Oh, she got that like in one note. Yeah, incoming. Love Shot came over, and people were clapping and laughing, and so when one of the college kids actually jumped up on his table, and he started to dance on the table. And what was great is he was actually pretty good, So I'm going to grab the microphone here, if we could fire this up, and as the apostle of appreciation, I'm going to kind of divine the room here, and I'm going to go with, I'm going to go with you, brother. Grab this like a rock star. Your name is?
Regis.
Regis. Okay, Regis. Do you remember when you were out to dinner with some friends, not at the Hard Rock Cafe, and at some point during dinner, you jumped up on the table and started to dance? Do you remember that?
Yes.
You do? That is awesome, because a lot of times you don't remember. You know what I'm saying? So in most restaurants, what would you expect the wait staff to do if somebody started dancing on the table?
Dance with me.
Dance with you, because you're that good. Move it a little closer so we can. Yeah, in most restaurants, wouldn't you agree they'd probably get you off the table, escort you out, encourage you to never come back? Yeah. Well, what do you think happened at the Hard Rock?
Everyone started dancing.
Well, yeah, it was really interesting. The waitresses started to clap and cheer, and then his waitress danced up on the table and danced with him. Amazing. Do you think he'll ever forget that?
No.
It didn't even happen to me. I can't forget it. Yeah. The thing is, at most restaurants, not appropriate, but absolutely appropriate at the Hard Rock Cafe because of the Hard Rock what? Rocks. Yeah, because of the Hard Rock culture. See, they believe that there's a little bit of rock star in everybody. Now, do you treat your customers a little differently when you think of them as rock stars as opposed to just hungry? See, that's culture. That's culture. I know what you're thinking, where's my carrot? Incoming, yeah. Just pass it over to him there. Yeah, I was being Dak Prescott on that one. Come on. Cowboy fans, don't give it if you can't take it. You know what I'm saying? So here's what's really interesting. Have you ever filled out one of those engagement surveys? Right, where they ask you, do you trust your manager? Do you align with the mission, vision, values? And would you recommend the job to friends and family? So the Hard Rock Cafe decided they were going to do an engagement survey, but they wanted to do it a la Hard Rock. So they had only one question on the survey, and the survey was this: tell me why your job rocks, and be creative in your answer. So guys did like haikus and songs and photo montages. Some of them did YouTube videos, and with their permission, I'm going to show you one. Now, I want to give you a little background. This guy is the dishwasher at the Hard Rock Cafe in Amsterdam, okay? Now, as you watch this, pay attention to the words he uses to describe his job, and then we'll talk about the business application later. Here we go.
I just want to tell you guys that dishwash is not really a dirty job, you know what I mean? I really have fun what I'm doing. I work like 3 years now, and I still like my job. I just want to show to the world that you can be a dishwasher and you can still have fun doing the dishes. I just feel free. I can be what I am. I love it. Let's go inside. Follow me.
When I walk on by, girls be looking like Debbie Fly. I pimp to the beat, walking down the street in my new freak, yeah. This is how I roll, animal print pants out control. It's Red Food with the big ass fro, and like Bruce Lee, I got the clout, yeah. Girl, look at that body.
Come on, give it up for the dishwasher. So, I love that guy. Now, I didn't just bring carrots. I brought the official all-in orange wristband. All the cool kids are wearing them. Yeah, yeah. So what were the words he used to describe his job? What did he say? Fun. Who said fun? Got a wristband? Yeah, fun. Do you think you're going to do a better job when you can come to work and have some fun with the people you work with? Absolutely. And what did you say? I can be myself. Isn't that an interesting way to describe your job? I don't have to pretend. I don't have to fake it. I am who I am, and that just frees up a lot of mental space, doesn't it? And then he used the L word. What did he say? I love my job. Yeah. And you know what? The guys in the back, you would have gotten it eventually. So here's some wristbands for you guys way in the back. Yeah, it's I love my job. Now, here's the thing that we discovered. High performance, overdrive, all-in cultures, right? There's an emotional attachment to work. Isn't that interesting? Do you think he's emotionally attached to work? Now, I told you I grew up in Canada, but I've been living in New Jersey for like the last 30 years. So I want to bring a little Jersey into the barn, okay? I love the Jersey girl. Jersey girls do not pump gas. It's a joke you can think of. My point is this. What is that guy's job? You know what I'm saying? What's his job? What's his role? He's the what? He's the frickin' dishwasher. You know what I'm saying? He's the frickin', is he interacting with customers? No. Is it important to have clean dishes? Like nobody cares about the dishwasher until the dishes are dirty. You know what I'm saying? Thing is who owns the culture in your organization, on your team at TTI? Who owns it? Everybody. Everybody. And when the dishwasher gets it, everybody gets it. Think about your team. Who's your dishwasher? Because he's in the basement. He's rocking out. What do you think the rest of the house looks like? You think he's bumping up there? Abso-frickin-lutely, right? So think about who's your dishwasher. Because when the dishwasher gets it, everybody gets it. Well, kind of interesting. Talk about that emotional connection to work. How many of you listen to a lot of music? Like music? Yeah, I mean, all the country stuff. Isn't it interesting? Have you ever had this experience where, you know, you're riding your bike or working out or going for a walk, and it's on shuffle, and a song comes on, and it takes you to a specific place in time? Isn't that amazing? Like all of a sudden you're back in high school, you know, college, your first love, your first kiss, you know, when the divorce was final. You know, those seminal moments. So I'm going to play 3 songs. We're going to give away some carrots, and then we'll talk about the business. See if you can name this tune. Happy by Pharrell. Yeah, whoa! There's the clicker. Thank you very much. So Happy. It's really interesting. This idea that there's a blur between work and your home life, and if you're happy at work, you're going to be happy at home. Yeah, does that work for you? That ripple effect? So here's an oldie but a goodie. Let's see if you can name this one. Oh, shit, you got like a wristband and a carrot. That's amazing. Yeah. So Gallup did this study. They said highly engaged employees have a best friend at work. How many of you have a best friend at work? I mean, some of you have worked here like 40 years. You got, you know, they not just coworkers, they're friends, they got your back, right? This last one, I'll bet you'll get it in one note. A little hug over here. That was very sweet. Yeah, here we go. Can you name this tune? I'm a Believer. That's right. Who's the band? The Beatles. It was the Monkees. Except that was Shrek and Smash Mouth. Ask your kids. They'll tell you. Yeah. So we say, what is the definition of an all-in overdrive culture? It's a place where I believe what I do matters and I make a difference. I believe what I do matters, I make a difference. And I always like to add, and when I made a difference, somebody noticed it and celebrated it. Somebody remembered to say thank you. Simple formula, not always easy to execute. So we put all this in a study. We published it in our book, All In. It's one of the largest studies ever conducted in workplace culture. Begs the question, how large was the survey? So this is going to be your skill testing question for the carrot. Your name is? Jerry. Jerry. Okay, Jerry. The skill testing question is, was it a 2-year study of 300,000 people?
2 years.
Just say yes. Congratulations. There's a carrot. Give me a round of applause. Yeah. Some of the questions just not that hard. Yeah, not that hard. So the idea is at the core, we were engaged, enabled, and energized, not just as leaders, as a team, right? So what does it mean to be engaged, enabled, and energized? So engagement, right? I give my discretionary effort, right? I give the little extra that kicks us into overdrive. I'm enabled. I've got the training, the tools, the wherewithal to execute on the promise to the customer. And then lastly, energized, that sense of well-being. emotional connection to work. I'm emotionally connected. I get it. Okay. So what does it mean to be engaged at work? How many of you have had a member of your team just kind of punching the clock? You know, I mean, they show up, but they kind of do the bare minimum, kind of disengaged, really. You're sort of more excited to leave work than to come to work. Yeah. I found a video of a disengaged employee leaving work at the end of the day. Now, I found it on the internet, so I'm pretty sure it's true, okay? Maybe you've had an employee like this, just leaving at the end of the day, kind of disengaged. Pretty excited, right, to get away from you, get to the ball game, get to the weekend. The problem is they've got to come back the next morning, and, you know, what does that look like? And it's kind of more like, Not sure what he's doing, pretty sure it's not productive. Well, as we looked at the data, this was really interesting. What are the drivers of engagement? Look at that. Number one is development and well-being. I love the introduction. Look, we want to get to 3 billion. I don't know how we're going to get there, but we're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out, right? And so this idea that I've got an opportunity to grow and develop, maybe work in different roles in different parts of the organization. Trust is pretty much a given. If you don't have trust, you don't have much. But look at this, pride in the organizational symbol. This was really fascinating. I'm really proud to tell people where I work, how we treat each other, how we treat our customers, the impact we have on our communities. And while this was fascinating, and by the way, global study, this was all over the world, which was really fascinating because you think, well, is Asia different than South America? And so people are people. These were the top three in every case. So he said, well, what are the drivers of the drivers? Alignment, right? My personal values, my mission, vision, and so on align with the organization. Trust was all about communication. You know, and we really experienced that through the pandemic, right? What's going on? What are the rules? What are the rules of engagement? What can we do? What can't we do? When can we travel? When we can, you know, all that communication becomes really important. But look at this. The number one driver was gratitude. By the way, it was the number 2 driver of trust and the number 2 driver of pride in the symbol. That I'm recognized for my work. I perform, it's noticed, it's celebrated. By the way, one of the number 1 drivers of disengagement for employees is my manager took credit for my work. Have you ever had that happen? Yeah, make you want to kick it into overdrive? Not really, right? So it's interesting. So you say, okay, I know these are nice things to do, but does it impact growth? 3 billion. Operating income in highly engaged, plus 19 on average, right, minus 30. Now, Adrian, my co-author, and I, we do not have our PhDs in stats, right? My first year at university was at the University of British Columbia. I had to take a stats class, and I will admit, I was in the half of the class that made the upper half of the class possible, okay? So we hired really smart people, and we said, is that true? They said, direct correlation, high engagement, more operating income. Which brings us to enablement. But before we leave that, think about your teams and say, how am I engaging my teams? Am I giving them opportunities to grow? Is there an emotional connection? Do we talk about it? Do we talk about our mission vision? Do we talk about our legacy, our history, our founders, and how important it is that we continue that great tradition, right? Are we enabling them? Do we give them the tools, the training to make sure they can deliver on that promise? Which you know, enabling. So what does it mean to be enabled at work? This, I think, is best explained in a story. Disney. How many of you have been to like Disney World, Disneyland, seen a Disney movie? Yeah. Disney World, the happiest place on, everybody knows that, right? So it's really interesting. This was a story written up in the Wall Street Journal not too long ago about a middle-income family. By the way, is Disney an inexpensive proposition? Oh, no, right? You pay again and again. The story is the middle-income family saved up for a couple of years, big Disney fans, to go to Disney World in Orlando. Their son, though, in their family was on the autism spectrum. For those of you that have, you know, family members or maybe neighbors that have autistic kids, depending where you are on the spectrum, big crowds, loud noises can be exhausting, right? Which was the case with their son. So the mother tells the story. They got to Disney World really early. They get off the monorail. They're going up Main Street. And her autistic son says, hey, Mom, can I have a purple Mickey balloon? And she says, sure. But then she has an idea. See, they'd never been able to stay the whole day at Disney World. They'd never gotten to the fireworks because he would get exhausted and they'd need to go back to the hotel. So she has an idea. She says, you know what, buddy? If you can get to the fireworks at the end of the day, I'll get you your purple Mickey balloon. She goes, deal. He goes, deal. See, the kid was amazing. Focused like a laser beam. Crowds didn't bother him. Noise didn't bother him. They see the fireworks. Best day ever at Disney. So they're coming back, down Main Street again to the monorail. And her son says, hey, Mom, purple Mickey balloon. She goes, oh, yeah, I got it. So she goes to the first kiosk. They got all the balloons. And there's lots of balloons, but there's no purple. Now, got to be purple, right? How about a pink one? How about a blue one? Not going to work. She goes, not a problem. Lots of kiosks. Goes to the next one. Lots of balloons. Still no purple. The third one, no purple. And she starts to panic. Now, the number one value at Disney is safety. Sound familiar, right? Safety. Physical and emotional safety at the park. So one of the employees, by the way, they're not called employees, they're called, characters and cast members. You come to work to perform, right? And sees this woman in obvious distress and comes up and says, ma'am, what can I do to help? She starts to tell him the story of the purple Mickey balloon, and she breaks down and cries. And he says, ma'am, I got this. Don't worry. Goes behind, blows up a purple Mickey balloon, puts a ribbon on it, comes back. How much do you think he charged her for that balloon? Come on, where are my salespeople? Supply and demand. You could triple the price on that balloon. I'm kidding, of course. He gifted it to her to create a forever memory. Happiest place on earth. Now, I want to ask you, do you think that he had to go to his manager and say, by the way, when you do inventory, you're going to be short one purple Mickey balloon. You're probably going to want to dock my pay. No, he was enabled and empowered to take a situation and make it fabulous. Now, interesting is we talked to the guys at the Disney Institute. They said, absolutely, we do a lot of training on that as to what you can do. And even more importantly, what you can't do. You don't want to make a promise you can't keep. You know what? Here's a purple Mickey balloon. And by the way, we're going to comp your hotel and all the rides for the next month. No, it's a balloon, right? So again, when you're thinking about how you empower and enable your teams, are the rules there? Can you understand what you can and can't do to create that fabulous customer experience where they're going to be your customers, forever and ever? Does that make sense? You with me? Can I get an amen? Okay, which brings me to my favorite, which is energized. That emotional connection to work, that when times get tough, it helps you push through because you're committed to the cause, you're committed to the mission and vision. We did this case study with WestJet. Canadians not eligible for this segment. How many of you have heard of WestJet as an airline? Yeah, they fly down to Florida and stuff. It's kind of like the Southwest Airlines of Canada, except, because they're Canadians, they're just, a little nicer. I'm kidding, because they're Canadians. They're a lot nicer. My point is, every year they do something kind of fun for their customers. Now, this was a few years ago now, but I just love this story so much. This is called the WestJet Christmas Miracle. Now, if you want to treat yourself, go to YouTube and watch the full 10 minutes. It's amazing. And as you watch this video, pay attention to the faces and the reaction of the passengers, as well as the WestJetters, which is what they call their employees, and we'll talk about it on the back end. I think you're going to really like this.
'Twas a night before Christmas, and all across the land, the good folks of WestJet had a miracle planned. On the eve before flying, the guests were in their beds. Visions of traveling danced in their heads. While out on the runway, something secret had arrived. It was left in the lounge. 'Twas a Christmas surprise.
Oh, hello there! Is that Cohen? What are you looking for Christmas this year, Cohen? A choo-choo train? What would Mommy and Daddy like for Christmas?
Big TV. What I need is new socks and underwear.
An Android tablet.
Some Santa boots.
While the guests told their Christmas wishes to good old St. Nick, WestJetters took notes and got ready to shop quick. It was a great rush with the 2 flights in the air to get all those presents. Not a moment to spare.
Same bells ringing, there's children singing tonight. Santa's coming to town, he's coming tonight.
Okay, Thomas, let's get.
Was everything ready? We all had to wait for the moment of truth at Carousel 8.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas! Where's the Hughes family?
The guests never expected what they'd asked of St. Nick would actually appear. It was all quite a trick. A WestJetter would say it was more than mere fun. Miracles do happen when we all work as one. We'll give Santa the last word on this most special night.
Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good flight. Ho, ho, ho!
Come on, round of applause for WestJet. Isn't that amazing? I can't tell you how much I love that story. You know, let me get this straight. I make a wish, I get on a plane, I get off the plane, and I'm at the baggage, and it shows up wrapped exactly what I wanted, you know, with my name on it. You know, what does it tell you about their logistical capabilities? Yeah, you think they can find your bag? Remember US Airways? Remember that airline? Man, those were angry elves working at that place, I'll tell you, yeah. Wanted to show them that video. You know, it's so interesting that, are they emotionally engaged? Was that a team effort? What was the reaction of the passengers? Awestruck. I mean, awestruck. And did you see the faces of the WestJetters? Were they excited to deliver on this thing? Absolutely. I mean, and everybody played their role, right? They had the Santa guy, they had the guy taking the orders, running to get, they had the guy in the cookie, probably the worst job, right? And you know, it's so interesting, like I travel like a lot of you do, and you know, normally when you're at the baggage claim area and people are crying, it's not usually because something good happened, you know what I'm saying? So all that thing, do you think they were energized? Absolutely. Think they love working at West, creating these memories and stuff for people? Now, if you want to have some fun, if you look it up on YouTube, and I really encourage you to, I think it's still there. Go to the outtakes. Because you know the guy who says, I want new socks and underwear? I'm not kidding. Santa goes, ho, ho, ho. Are you sure you don't want a big screen TV? Socks and underwear? Don't, what was I thinking? Yeah. So here's what's really interesting. So if you go to YouTube, that got 44 million views. They never made a commercial, they just put it on YouTube. 44 million views. Can you imagine? Do you know how many Canadians there are? No, seriously, like 33 million. Like every Canadian knows that story. Do you think they're telling their friends? We actually, at a conference, we had a guy come up, he says, I was on one of those planes. He says, that video isn't even close to the energy and the joy that brought to people. So again, when you think of kicking it into overdrive, right? What are some of the things you can do that just will make your customers step back and go, that's why they're different. That's why we deal with them. And I'll pay a premium for that, right? Because they're amazing. So give it a thought. And again, you know, it does have an impact? Absolutely. Look, companies with low engagement, about 10% operating margin, high engagement, 14%, that's a nice delta, right? But look when you add engagement, enablement and energy, right? It almost doubles productivity. That's when it gets really good. When the dishwasher gets it, everybody gets it, right? Well, there's a lot of talk about psychological safety. I don't know if you've read, Amy Edmondson did a lot of this stuff at Harvard School of Business. This idea that particularly through the pandemic, there was a lot of uncertainty. And you had to create, particularly if you want to be innovative, right? You've got to create what's called psychological safety. That Google did a study, it was called the Aristotle study, 180 teams. They wanted to figure out what were the characteristics of the most productive, most innovative teams at Google. What better place to study than at Google? And it wasn't funding or experience or diversity or whatever. And number one was psychological safety. I can speak up. My voice is heard. My opinion matters. People won't make fun of me, right? They'll consider what I'm saying and it's valued. Well, it's really interesting that creation of that safety comes with that wonderful concept. And if you don't remember anything that I say this morning, I hope you'll remember this, to assume positive intent in your people, in your customers, and in your community. And when I say assume positive intent, I know that might mean different things to different people, but I love this. Keep calm and assume positive intent. Take a beat before you jump to a conclusion, right? Like, often we can misinterpret a certain situation. Like this guy.
Come on.
Doing something nice for his wife, right? Maybe anniversary dinner, working hard. And then... Oops. Oops. You know, clearly misinterpreted, right? And we do this sometimes as bosses. I'm sorry, your name is? Atul. Do you ever had a manager come up to you, Atul, and say something like this? Hey, Atul, can I talk to you for just a minute? You just drop what you're doing. Just you and me, little one-on-one in my office right now. Yeah. So what's going through his head when I talk to him like that? Yeah, let me tell you what's not going through his head. Probably more praise and recognition. Gonna be a cake and some balloons, a plaque, maybe tickets to Hawaii. I'm coming, boss. Yep. No, you know, he's thinking, oh crap, what did I do wrong, right? That's assuming negative intent. And by the way, good job, those acting lessons really paid off, yeah. So the point is when you assume positive intent, your whole approach to a problem and a person is different. It's let's solve the problem, right? When you assume negative intent, right away you're in the blame game. How could you be so stupid? I can't believe this is one of our most important customers. Jack, again. See what I'm saying? Instead of, what's the problem? Let's solve the problem. Because once you start assuming negative intent, when your people make mistakes, what's the last thing they're going to do? Tell you. And what's the first thing you want them to do? Tell you. So you can solve the problem. It's really interesting. How many of you have a can of WD-40? Yeah. Okay. Everybody's got a can. But here's your skill testing question for a carrot. What does WD-40 stand for? Water disbursement what? Who said that? Yeah. You know what? I love a wise guy. Yeah, there you go. Congratulations. Yeah. WD-40, it's water displacement. By the way, good job. Nobody ever gets that. Here's what's really interesting. They are their own company, by the way. They're not a product in a big portfolio. Their headquarters is in San Diego. I'm going to introduce you to their past CEO here, Gary Ridge, in just a minute. But here's the thing. See, 40th formula, we don't make mistakes at WD-40. We have learning moments. Think about that assume positive intent mentality. He said, you know, did we make 39 mistakes? We had 39 good tries. And when we got to 40, that was magic. Right? In fact, at their headquarters, they have what they call a tribal culture because tribes are different than teams or associates or co-workers, right? In a tribe, you fight together, you celebrate together, you feed each other, you defend each other, right? And it's really interesting. As you go up the steps to the second floor, they have 39 formulas that didn't work. As a reminder that, you know what, you're going to try stuff and it's not going to work, and that's okay. And that's okay. That's part of innovation, right? So this is Gary, really a happy Aussie living in San Diego. I always like to say the Australians are kind of like the Canadians of Asia. It's a subtle joke, but I like it, yeah. So it said, let's not waste a crisis. Everywhere people go, they're going to hear about the horror. They're going to hear about the recession. They're going to hear about the pandemic. They're going to hear about the downturn. When they come here, I want them to hear about hope. We work through it. We've been through this before. You guys have been doing this for decades. You've seen everything. You've gone through recessions. You've gone through pandemics. You've gone through wars and civil strife. You know how to do it. And he says, how do you do it? We say, no faking, no lying, no hiding conversations. We communicate every day. We focus on development. And look at that. Gratitude tied to our core values. We celebrate our successes. And in some cases, we celebrate our failures. We celebrate our failures. Now, here's what's really interesting. By 2021, they had record earnings, 99% employee engagement, 99%. That's a stupid number. They only have 500 employees. I said to Gary, that's like 5 people. Like, you got to find those 5 people, man. Coach them up or coach them out. You're this close to 100%. I thought that was funnier than you did. Anyway, 300%, did it make a difference? 300% market cap. In 1997, they were a $250 million business. Then, does that number resonate with anybody? $3.5 billion? Yeah, and they're a global company. Now, this is their mission. We exist to create positive, lasting memories in everything we do. We solve problems, we make things work smoothly, we create opportunities. And your mom and dad taught you this, right? Right before you went to college? What did they give you? A roll of duct tape and a can of WD-40. Solved 90% of the world's problems, right? If it moves and it shouldn't, duct tape. If it doesn't move and it should, WD-40, right? Here's what's really interesting. Look at those growth numbers. Look at that innovation. People, it is grease in a can. It is not that complicated. Like, if they can do it with a can of grease, do you think you can do it with what you guys do? Absolutely. It is absolutely doable. And it comes down to great teams, right? It's your teams that execute. Your emphasis on people that you do so well here. So Canadians are not eligible for this, and I sort of gave it away there, but let's go back to the room here, the cheap seats. If you knew somebody, you'd be able to sit closer. That's all I'm saying. This is going to be your skill testing question. Oh, sorry, sister. Grab it like a rock star. Your name is?
Rochelle.
Rochelle. So, Rochelle, as you look at that picture, do you know who Chris Hadfield is? Does that ring a bell?
No.
Okay. If you can divine his title, you win the carrot. So, nice mustache. Is he a biology teacher, a fireman, an after-school driving instructor, or is he an astronaut? What's your guess?
He's an astronaut.
Are you sure? Final answer.
Maybe.
The carrot. Give it up for the carrot. Yeah. Now, I know what you're all thinking. A Canadian astronaut? Yes, we've had 3, okay? Nobody more famous than Chris Hadfield. He was actually the commander of the International Space Station, one of less than 200 people to take a walk in space. And if you're Canadian and you see that flag, that's like total props, right? He did all these really cool podcasts from the International Space Station for students, university students, elementary and secondary in Canada, to get them interested in the sciences. In fact, he was such a big hit that he's on the back of the $5 bill now. I know. How cool is that, right? Now, it's not officially him, but it's him, right? Like, because normally to get on your country's, currency, you got to be like royalty or dead or both, right? Now, this is already a big deal, but what made it a huge deal in Canada, or as we say in New Jersey, huge, is that who he replaced on the back of the $5 bill, which was hockey players. Seriously, you replace hockey players, you better be a big frickin' deal, you know what I'm saying? Well, let me introduce you to his team, because it's all about the team, right? The WestJet and Disney and so on. 3 cosmonauts, 2 American astronauts, and then the Canadian commander. They trained for 12 years before they went up to the international. Think about that, 12 years, with no guarantee that they'd actually get to go. Now, he said, it's really interesting in NASA, when we train for this, we train for everything that can go wrong. Envision success. No, we envision failure. Because if something goes wrong in the space station and we can't fix it, everybody dies. Like, there's a little bit of pressure. He said, that Sandra Bullock movie, Break All the Rules? Yeah, she'd have been dead like in 3 seconds, right? So he said, we drilled like crazy, we trained like crazy. He said, not only that, we went above and beyond. We got to know each other's stories. He moved to Russia, actually, to train. He didn't live on the NASA campus. He took public housing. He learned to speak fluent Russian. Think about that. What do you think it meant to the cosmonauts, right? Think about some of the people that work for you. Do you know just a little bit of Spanish, right? And it goes a long way, doesn't it? And they knew their stories, where they came from, how they got here, what they wanted to accomplish, what they were going to do afterwards. He says, we knew their stories. We prepared for the unexpected. They actually got together and said, what would happen if, while we're at the International Space Station, because they're for 3 months, right? If one of our family members passed away, what would we do? That's not in the manual. And in fact, one of the American astronauts, his father had a heart attack and died. They knew exactly what to do to support each other and make. Now, not surprisingly, the most productive 3 months ever in the history of the space station. So they do the debrief. Why? Like, what was different with this team? One was they knew their stories, but this was the biggest factor. He said, we obeyed all the rules, but we had one unwritten rule, and it was this. Every astronaut had to perform a random act of kindness for every other astronaut every day. Every day. 5 other people, right? Now, he said, we didn't keep track. We didn't have like a chart with little stars on it, although I thought that would have been cool because they're in outer space. It's a star. But he said, because we did that, here was the ripple effect. He said, we never had a heated argument. no one ever lost their temper. Because when you're serving people like that, and it was never anything big, right? I'll clean the equipment, let me help you with the calculations, I'll cook dinner, whatever, right? All those little acts of kindness, what's the message? Hey, you're on my team. I got your back. I'm cheering for you. I care about you. I love you. And he said that was the key. Isn't that fascinating? The softer side of business that sometimes we get so busy for we forget. But that was their ritual. That was their goal. Every day, one random act of kindness. Isn't that fun? I love that. One random act of kindness every day. Well, this is where it gets really good when we're going to divide you up into teams. So let's unleash the easels with the markers and stuff. Give it up for Paula, who put this all together, live and in color. Here's what we want to do, and we're going to do this really fast, okay, because we're on a bit of a time constraint. This is your goal. You're going to get together with your teams, put like 2 tables together, right? And what I want is a scribe and a voice for your group. So you got your markers and stuff. Your goal is you've got to open a restaurant in 3 weeks. And I want you to number from 1 to 20, make sure each idea has a number. Number from 1 to 20, the 20 things that you need to open a restaurant in 3 weeks. Restaurant, open, 3 weeks, 20 things, scribe, and an announcer for your group. Any questions? On your mark, get set, go.
It's been a hard day's night, and I've been working like a dog. It's been a hard day's night. I should be sleeping like a log. But when I get home to you, I find the things that you do will make me feel all
3, 2, 1. Pens down, pens down. Give yourselves a round of applause. Good job. Okay. Look, don't sit down. Don't sit down. Because I got some news for you. Pay attention. Eyes front. As you know, things change. It's not always the way we want it to be. Supply chain issues. Heard that one? Yeah, I want you to take your list and I want you to cross off 1, 3, 5, 11, 13, 17, and 20. You no longer have those available to you. You still have to open a restaurant in 3 weeks. Get creative. Go. Oh yeah, that's a shame. That's a shame. Make it work. Nope. This is what you've got. Open a restaurant. You can do it. Are you ready? So, here we go. Who's your spokesperson? Right there. Okay. So, just...
Well, we lost all of our money and funding from the bank.
Okay, bummer, yeah.
We lost our people.
Yeah, kind of important.
We don't really have a name.
Okay.
Processes are gone. Our dishwashers are gone.
Dishwashers,
We have no utilities. And I talked about the bank.
So you had money and bank. Yeah, you were doubling down on that.
That kind of hurt us.
Yeah. Right. But what was your first impression when all of a sudden you lost like half your resources? What was your first impression? Yeah, oh crap, we're screwed, right? Here's what's fascinating. And you wouldn't know this because you're not up here sort of with a bigger view. It gets a little quiet and it's kind of like, oh crap. And then the volume goes way up. Isn't that interesting? Because all of a sudden it's like, hey, we got a problem, we're going to solve it, and we're going to do, and it's not lost on me that you're in competition with all the other tables. I know we're going to have a better idea than those guys, right? Isn't that interesting? Now, there's a concept that I want you to just play with a little bit. It's called the freedom of constraints. The freedom of constraints. Like often when we go to ideate, we say, okay, well, everything's on the board. Well, no, everything can't be on the board, right? So what are the constraints? I love this exercise because you say, this is all we've got. Make it happen. This is what we've got. Let's not worry about what we don't have, what we should have, what we could have, what the competition has. This is what we have. Make it work. Do you remember the movie Apollo 13? Yeah, and they had the filters. They said, we got to make this fit in a hole for this using this. And they made it happen. The freedom of constraints is really an interesting concept, and it's very liberating. It's not limiting, it's liberating, because I'm not spending time worrying about what I don't have, what I could have, what I should have. This is what we got. Did you enjoy that? Yeah. Would that be something you could take back for your teams? Yeah, give yourselves a round of applause. You guys did great. You did great. So along this line of, psychological safety and building teams, I want to spend just a few minutes on what is, if not the number one issue in the workplace right now, it's 1A, and that is anxiety and mental health in the workplace. Now, little background on this. I love psychological safety. I think when you really get into those great cultures, when you really need to kick it into overdrive, you have to have emotional safety. Because you're going to go and start doing things that you've never done before. You're going to ask for ideas and opinions that people maybe have never shared before. And they've got to feel safe. Now, let me give you some numbers around anxiety. This is pre-pandemic. About 18% of workers said they suffered from some kind of anxiety disorder. Now, everybody has been anxious, right? And sometimes it's a good thing, right? Get your adrenaline going, you got to make a big presentation or whatever. An anxiety disorder it's persistent enough that it keeps you from doing your job. So about 1 in 5. Check out what happened by 2022. 30% said they had an anxiety disorder. And when you look at people in their 20s, the new people you're hiring, the really smart kids out of university and college, it's 42%. That's a ridiculously high number. And by the way, retention, you want to keep good people. 50% of millennials, 75% of Gen Z, or if you're Canadian, it's Gen Z, say they have quit a job for mental health reasons. Now, why do they quit? Why do they quit? Let's take a deeper dive. So, anxiety, right? Excessive and persistent worry, a fear about the unfamiliar, everyday situations that interfere with your work and life. Okay, emotional safety, we talked about that. Now, the reason we wrote this book is Adrian, my co-author, his son, Tony, I've known Tony for 20 years, has always been very anxious. Super smart kid, classic millennial, digitally connected, really informed, gets stuff done, has always been anxious. And he came to us and said, you guys talk about leadership, you talk about culture. Do you ever talk about mental health and anxiety? And we went, no. We don't talk about that. Our generation's like, hey, rub some dirt on it, turn that frown upside down, get back in the game, right? When I played sports, if somebody got knocked out, we all laughed. But somebody else, send it back in. I still think that's funny. I know it's inappropriate, but I still think it's funny. Yeah. So our solution, right, our generation, we'd say, you just need to relax, man. Just calm down. I love this quote. Never in the history of calming down has anyone ever calmed down by being told to calm down. Have you ever tried that with your kids? Just calm down. Yeah, I think the yelling helps. Yeah. And yet that was our solution, right? So at the back, this is just for the back rows. Call out. What percentage of employees do you think feel safe talking to their immediate supervisor or their boss about mental health? Give me a percentage, just call it out. 5% is low, 16 is high. 12 is high. 7 is low. 10, okay. I brought this because they told me the chandeliers are insured. Okay, this is the Frisbee. Whoever said 10 back there, incoming. Yeah, give it a round of applause. Yeah, it's 10%. Flip that around. 90% of your people that are suffering from some kind of emotional distress and anxiety, they will not talk to you about it. Why? Fear, not safe. Stigma. Now think about this. The previous numbers, 42% of workers in their 20s, right, suffer from some kind of anxiety. And yet, they come to us and go, suck it up. It's going to be a high-pressure job. I told you that up front. Right? If 42% of your workers in their 20s showed up with a broken leg, would you do something about that? Absolutely, right? Broken leg is easy. You can see it. Hey, get some PT, get that taken care of, take some time. When you're ready, come on back. Somebody comes up and says, you know what, I'm just overwhelmed. I need a mental health day. We go, you're not who I thought you were. Yeah, thought you were tougher than that. See, we laugh about it, but it's true, isn't it? It's true. So it's really interesting, and I get this. You create that safe space, and people come and talk to you, and Now what do, right? Like you're not a therapist, you're not a counselor, you can't write prescriptions. At least I hope you can't. That's dangerous, right? When people come to you and they finally feel safe to talk to you about what's going on, they want you to do one thing and one thing only. What is that? They want you to listen. See, stress and burnout, right? Employees that report being burned out are 63% more likely to take sick leave, more than 2.5 times likely to quit. But look at this. Employees who are a manager who's willing to listen are 62% less likely to burn out because you've got help. You've got somebody that's going to work with you, help you solve those problems. But the thing is, it's hard for us as leaders to just listen, isn't it? Why? Some of you have been doing this for 30, 40 years. There isn't a problem you don't know how to solve, and you want to tell them right now, cut to the chase, I get it, do this, it'll be fine, check in with me next week. We've got all the answers. They don't want the answers. They want you to listen. Now, this is going to be a little low, so we're going to need to bring the volume up a little bit. The idea is just listen, and we've all had this experience. Found this video, I think, that really explains the importance of just listening.
It's just, there's all this pressure, you know? And sometimes it feels like it's right up on me, and I can just feel it, like literally feel it in my head, and it's relentless, and I don't know if it's gonna stop. I mean, that's the thing that scares me the most, is that I don't know if it's ever gonna stop.
Yeah. Well, you do have a nail in your head.
It is not about the nail.
Are you sure? Because, I mean, I'll bet if we got that out of there...
Stop trying to fix it.
No, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm just pointing out that maybe the nail is causing...
You always do this. You always try to fix things when what I really need is for you to just listen.
No, see, I don't think that is what you need. I think what you need is to get the nail
See,
out.
you're not even listening now.
Okay, fine. I will listen. Fine.
It's just, sometimes it's like, there's this achy, I don't know what it is. And I'm not sleeping very well at all. And all my sweaters are snagged. I mean, all of them.
That sounds really hard.
It is. Thank you. Ow!
Come on, if you would just...
Don't.
I mean, seriously, if you had that happen, and all the time, you just, and I got to tell you, you got to take a beat. You just got to take a deep breath and say, that's hard. That's hard. So what is it your role as a leader or a coworker? If you're going to take a screenshot, take this one. It's really helpful. You got to normalize the conversation. Everybody gets anxious. If you broke your leg, we'd take care of it. It's nothing different than that. Destigmatize it. It's not going to keep you from getting the raise or the promotion or that great assignment. This is a normal thing, and then you got to empathize. Now, it's really interesting. 5 years ago, 6 years ago, if you'd said, what are the great attributes of great leaders? Say, great communicator, motivator, paints the picture of the future, digs in, trustworthy. Right now, if you are not leading with empathy, and empathy is really tied to gratitude, by the way, the rest doesn't matter. If I don't think you care about me, nothing else matters. Now, Brené Brown, you know, the wonderful professor at University of Houston, she has done some really nice work on empathy, and that empathy is different than sympathy, right? Sympathy is, bummer, dude. Glad I'm not you, right? That's sympathy. Empathy goes deeper. Little video she put together, I want you to watch this, and if there's certain things that jump out at you that you think will be helpful, I'd love you to share it with the group. Here we go.
And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, you climb down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no. You want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least.
At least, right? So what were some things that kind of jumped out from you? Just yell it out. Vulnerable. I'm going to crawl down, and it's a sacred space. You're hurting. I'm here for you. What else? Sharing, yeah. I know what it feels like. I don't know exactly what you're going through. I have felt that way myself, right? One of the things that I love about this little video, and it took me a while before I picked up on it, when the bear comes down the ladder, talks and turns on the light. Isn't that interesting? Bring some light into the conversation. For me, the biggest takeaway is you're not alone. You're not alone. Because, you know, as high performers, and you all are, you wouldn't be here, we like to be the helper. We don't ask for help, do we? We don't ask for help. And so when things get bad, what do? We pull back. It's the worst thing we can do. What we need is we need to push forward, right? So if you can get the message out to your people that it's okay. And by the way, if you know their stories, if you know where they came from, how they got here, what they want to accomplish and where they're going to go, that makes it really easy to empathize, right? Here's what we can do to put you in a situation to succeed. Here's your progression in the organization. I can partner with you on that, right? And that empathy piece is so important because when people pull back, it gets bad and it gets dark. Now, I want to ask you a question. Raise your hand if you've got somebody on your team that's just killing it, like your superstar. Yeah. Never disappoint, right? Never disappoint. What do we do with those superstars? We load them up, baby. That's right. They get 90% of the work done, and we load them up because they never say no, they never disappoint, they never miss a deadline. I guarantee you they're the most anxious people on your team for all of those reasons. Make sure you know what you're doing with them because you'll burn them out and they'll leave. You'll burn them out, I promise you. And almost always your top performers are your most anxious. Well, so how do you identify it? Like a broken leg, easy, you know, mental health, hard, right? So look for changes in behavior. Somebody who never loses their temper starts losing their temper. And I get that you can have a bad day. I'm talking about persistent, right? Somebody who's never late starts showing up late. Somebody whose reports are always, you know, brilliant or just kind of okay. Look for those changes. Now, the one thing you don't want to do is that last one where I say, hey, I heard this guy speak on anxiety the other day. Dude, you check all the boxes. Yeah, you are anxious. I'm here for you. Yeah, no, that doesn't work, right? So how do you talk about it? So we talked to all these counselors and said, so how do you start the conversation? If it's that hard and it's that emotionally charged, how do I as a leader, even when I know something, how do I do it? You start with, I've noticed. Isn't this interesting? It's a wonderful tool. You know what? I've just noticed that you've had a tough time coming to work on time. How can I help? How can I help? I've noticed, because when you say I've noticed, it gets translated to I care. I've noticed, I care. What can I do to help? Do you need more resources? You know, hey, it might be, listen, my spouse is sick. I've got to take the kids to school. I just can't get here by 8 o'clock. Great. How can I help? Let's get a flex schedule for you. Nothing more important than your kids. Think that's going to go a long way to reduce their anxiety and stress? Simple little thing. I've noticed. How can I help? Right? Now, if you're looking for a great kids book, who loves great kids books? Yeah, buy this book. Seriously, it's called The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. He wrote it for children between the ages of 8 and 80. I'm pretty sure that's all of us, okay? And it's a wonderful story about a little boy who's going into the wild, into the wilderness, and he's afraid. And he befriends this wise old mole, and they free a fox from his snare. He joins their little troop, and then they befriend this big, old, gentle horse. And they go through the storms together, and the sketching and the artwork is beautiful. It's Charlie Mackesy. And he says, the little boy asks the horse, what's the bravest thing you've ever said? And the horse says, help. As leaders, we don't ask for help. And you know what? It's okay. And then he follows up and he says, you know, asking for help isn't giving up, said the horse. It's refusing to give up. Treat yourself to the boy, the mole, the fox, and the horse. Great lessons. Great lessons. Well, and it brings us to gratitude. So we're in the home stretch. You guys still with me? Can I get a little yeah? Can I get an amen? Okay, here we go. Gratitude. It's the soft stuff. That's the hard stuff. Why? Because it's people. People are hard, right? And this is the stuff that your mom and dad taught you when you were 5 years old. What did they tell you? Remember to say, please and thank you. Clean up after yourself. Don't push, don't hit, don't bite. Right? That's still good advice. Yeah. Right? This is my mom and dad. Little round of applause for Dalton. I know. Aren't they cute? My mom loves that I show this, but she's got a little high tech. She's recorded some advice for you here today in Fort Worth, Texas. Here we go.
We're Chess's mom and dad, and we've been married 64 years. So listen up, for he's got a lot of things to tell you. And for heaven's sake, buy a lot of books.
Yeah, what she said.
Come on, give it up for adult Irene. Okay, so praise, effort, reward, results. You know, there's a lot of little things that are going on really well in the group. Sometimes we're really quick to point out what's going wrong as opposed to what's going right. So you praise effort. Now, you don't always get the results you want, right? There was a survey that was done on how did you learn how to ride a bike? Think about that, right? 10,000 people were surveyed, and they were asked, do you know how to ride a bike? How many people out of 10,000 you think said, I don't know how to ride a bike? Give me a number. 2,000 is high. 5 is low. Oh, I'm sorry, 5 is high. Where's my accountant? 1 is low, 5 is high. 3, who said 3? Love you, get a carrot incoming. Yep, give it to her, yeah. 3, 2 women and 1 man. What does that tell you? Women are probably more honest about these things than men. But they wanted to know, how did you learn how to ride a bike? Do you remember that? Your mother, father, brother, sister put you on a bike, and they're running next to you, and what are they saying to you? Yeah, keep pedaling. Hey, you're doing great. Hey, you missed the curb. Hey, that doesn't look like it'll need stitches, right? They're praising effort. Now, you don't always get the results you want. Oh, but you want them to try again, right? Come on. You can do this, buddy. Maybe third time lucky. I don't know why I think this is so funny. I just think it is, yeah. But you want them to try again. You know, you don't always get the results you have. Oh, but there's a good method. See, the more you practice, the better you play. The better you play, the better your chances of winning. Lord Stanley's Cup, if you're Canadian, that is the greatest trophy that you can ever win in sports because they etch your name on it. That's cool. Like you play hockey your whole life, you win Lord Stanley's Cup, you become a hockey god. Let's just soak that up for just a minute. Yeah. So how do you do it? You want to praise effort, reward results. Here's the key. Do it now, do it often, be specific, be sincere. Do it now. You'll think you'll remember. Oh, you want to go back and get that screenshot? There you go. Great. Yeah, do it now. We think we'll remember, you won't. Oh, end of the week, end of the quarter, end of the year-end banquet. Yeah, we'll just do it all then. Nope, you won't remember. Guarantee it. And, you know, sports analogies are overused, but you win a gold medal, you want it now. You know, they don't pass them all out at the end. Oh, gold, silver, bronze, yeah, gold. No. They're still on the ice, right? They've skated around with the cup, you know. Winter Olympics. I know a lot of you think it's a winter sports festival. It's not. It's a hockey tournament. That's all we care about, right? And look, they're still in their skates, you know, the thing. And, you know, the World Cup, you know, I mean, come on. I want it now. I want to celebrate with my fans, right? Super Bowl, right? What do they do for the Super Bowl winner, by the way? I did find it's right after they developed, right after they developed color photography, they took this photo. Just kidding. But the coach, what do they do at the end of the game, right? Gatorade. Does the coach enjoy that? No? You bet. You kidding? He's dreamed of that moment. Because it means what? They won. Like they do not do that for the losing coach. Can you imagine? Hey. Right? Or can you imagine like the coach is at the mall 2 weeks after the game, a couple of players, hey coach, no. Right then, you can bet, by the way, in Vegas, you can bet on the color of the Gator. We have a sick society on our hands, yeah. They do it right now, do it now. Primacy, recency. The closer the recognition and gratitude is to the behavior, the more likely it is to be repeated. It's basic human nature, right? And then often. Now, I get a lot of pushback on this one. So let's do a little survey here. How many of you, raise your hands, how many of you think you can actually get too much recognition and gratitude in the workplace? It loses its meaning. Becomes trite. Just raise your hand. How many think you can't get enough? Can't get enough. Okay. How many of you don't vote? Just over there. So here's my point. I think in our personal lives, we understand this. Then we come to the workplace and we forget, you know, basic stuff, right? So I'm going to ask you to participate again. You don't have to. I hope you will. But raise your hand right now if in your personal life you're madly in love. Madly in love and happily married. So the gentleman right there with the black T-shirt and the gold watch, right, and the beard, yes, come on up to the stage. I want to talk to you. Give him some encouragement. Yeah, we're running out of time. Pick up the pace. Okay, here we go. Good job. Okay, so your name is?
Jeff.
Jeff, and you are madly in love.
I am.
Happily married.
I am.
Same person.
Yep.
Okay, good. Good answer. Yeah.
3 for 3.
Step up. No. How long have you been married?
16 years.
16 years. Give it up for 16 years. That's great. And your spouse's name is?
Mallory.
Mallory. Okay, so Mallory, madly in love, 16 years. How often do you do or say something to Mallory says, I love you? How often does that happen?
Oh, 10 minutes ago.
10 minutes ago.
A text.
A text? So every day?
Yeah, probably every day.
Sometimes more than once a day?
Yeah.
So 365 days a year, it's like 500, 600, 700 times a year?
A couple thousand.
Couple thousand? Yeah. That's too much, man.
You want to get her on the phone?
Yeah, no. Hey, I wrote the book. It was a bestseller. Pay attention, okay? Yeah. No, I mean, how many times does she have to hear it before she believes you? You know, I love you, I love you, I love you. Wouldn't it be better, because, you know, it's so hard to remember, like, anniversaries, Valentine's Day, that's totally made up, right? What if you just had, like, a year-end banquet, right? And at the end of the, I mean, nice, right? Wouldn't that be better just one time, about load up?
Probably not. Although I like a good banquet.
Who doesn't? Yeah. Why?
Why what?
Why wouldn't it work if you just did it once a year instead of like a couple of thousand times?
Because that's 364 days that she didn't hear it.
Seriously, I think that's the sweetest thing I've ever heard when I've had that.
Do I get my carrot now or later?
In just a minute. Man, Paula, you said they're high maintenance. You weren't kidding. Yeah. Okay. So here's my point. When you say I love you to Mallory and she says I love you back, how does that make you feel?
Great.
Can you get that too much?
Probably not.
You can't. You can't get that too much. See, I love you in your personal life translates to thank you in the workplace. Now, do not get that mixed up, okay? It's I love you in your personal. It causes HR all kinds of problems. You know what I'm saying? So what do we have for you and Mallory? Wait for it. His and her carrots. Ah! You're the best.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. Big round of applause. That was awesome. We get it. Why do we forget? Because we're multitasking. We're doing hard stuff. We're checking the boxes. No, people are people. Just remember, simple little random acts of kindness. I'm a big fan of tokens and rituals. This is a guy, Carlos Aguilera at Avis Budget Rental Car, Dallas, Texas. Has about 300 or 400 people reporting to him. When he first started to become a manager, they called him a seagull manager. Do you know that expression? He'd fly in, crap all over everything, and fly away. Yeah, make a lot of noise. He was really good about pointing out what's going wrong and never pointing out what was going right. He had a great mentor. He said, you got to back up on that. People are doing a lot of good things every day. Look for that too. So what he did was he developed this little ritual. He puts 10 pennies in his left pocket every day. And he sets a goal to have 10 positive interactions with the people. That's a lot, by the way. And the way he keeps track is he moves a penny from his left pocket to his right pocket. Kind of cool, right? We were interviewing him for a book, and we got to lunch. He says, I've still got 8 pennies in my left pocket. I got to be with my people. So he's texting. He's writing notes. He's calling them. He's got team huddles. He's calling people out. Are you surprised that he is literally the #1 ranked leader at Avis Budget? Highest employee engagement, highest customer retention and satisfaction. That ripple effect. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, rental cars. That's all unicorns and rainbows. What could go wrong with a rental car, you know? Right, except when people crash the rental car, throw up in the rental car, and purposely leave their child in the rental car when they check in. Yeah. So the thing is, you're going to have tough conversations. Do you think they will listen to him more clearly and with more open mind if he's got that bank of goodwill for all the thing? Of course. Doesn't mean you're not going to have tough conversations. In fact, it prepares you for the tough conversations, right? So it brings it to the question. Now, I didn't just bring carrots and stuff. I brought the official gratitude stone. Everybody, this is a really good question, and I'm going to give it to you, sir. Your name is? Lloyd. So it begs the question, so what should the ratio be, positive to negative? You know, is it 1-to-1, like 1 compliment to every criticism? Is it 2 compliments to every criticism? Is it 3 to every criticism? Or is it 5? Like intuitively, which one would you go?
Thinking 5.
I think 5, that's okay. Give him a round of applause. That is awesome. 5-to-1. Yeah. 1-to-1 is negative, 2-to-1 is negative, 3-to-1 is neutral, 4, 5. Harvard Business actually says it's 5.6. You could round it up to 6. And we know this in our personal lives, right? I was doing this with a group of leaders in Singapore. It was really fun. And I didn't have the prompt. And I said, what do you think the ratio should be? And the one guy says, I think it's 1-to-1. I said, well, great, defend your answer. He said, that's balance. For every compliment, there should be a criticism. That's balance. I said, great. Are you married? He said, yes. I said, try that with your wife and get back to me. Can you imagine you've got a night planned, dinner and a show, and your wife comes down the stairs and you say, oh, honey, that dress just makes your eyes sparkle. That color is so good on you. The stripes make you look a little fat, but the color, that's 1-to-1. What are your odds of getting to dinner? Like 0, right? So ask yourself, what's my ratio? Am I quick to point out what's going wrong and slow to point out what's going right? And then be specific. If you're going to remember one thing about gratitude and how you express it, general praise has no impact. Absolutely none. And we've all had managers, right? They come to work, hey, great job. You're the best. You're the Tower of Pisa. You're spraying the place with their gratitude pistols. It gets very annoying very quickly. Tell me what I did and how I did it so I can replicate that behavior. Hey, that's what great customer service looks like. Hey, that's what reducing inventory looks like, right? That's how communication works. And be sincere. People know when you're faking it, right? Now, little tip. You recognize me, that's great. You recognize my family, people that are important to me, now we're family. And you get that here. Better than most, right? I want to share a quick little story with you. I travel a lot. I was working for a bigger company some years ago. Kent Murdoch was my CEO. And I was at Dulles Airport looking for my connecting flight. Now, how many of you have been to Dulles Airport? Yeah. Kind of designed for you to miss your connecting flight. Would you agree? Yeah. So you know the routine. You get your wheelie, your backpack. I'm on the phone. We're solving some customer problem or something. Hang up. Phone rings again. Caller ID. It's my beautiful wife, Heidi. The call you take no matter where you are, right? A couple of thousand times a year. Anyway, I said, honey, what's up? She said, Chess, you're not going to believe what just happened. A guy dropped off 24 beautiful, long-stemmed orange roses to the house. And at first, I thought they were from you. I knew they weren't. Kind of curious who they were from. You know what I mean? See the note there? It was from my boss. I just hung up with him. You can't make this up. He said, Heidi, thanks for taking care of all the big things at home so Chester can do big things on the road for us. The sacrifice isn't lost on us. Enjoy the flowers. All the best, Kent. Everybody. Oh, no! Now, he knows we like flowers and roses in particular. Did he send her 24 red roses? No. That would have been inappropriate. Husbands on the road. Right? No, we wrote a book called The 24-Carat Manager. 24 is our number, orange is our color. Did you check out the socks? Yeah. Hard to find, always on sale. Right? Those little things, did that mean a lot to us? Yeah. Those little random acts of kindness. How do you think it made me feel about being on the road for Kent? 2 thumbs up. How do you think it made my wife feel about me being away from home? Because here's how the conversation ended. And I kid you not. She goes, Chess, where are you? I said, I'm at Dulles Airport. I'm looking for my connecting flight. She said, don't you dare miss that flight. Those are good people you're working for. Right? So know your people. What can you do? You know, those wonderful little things. And create a wow moment. Like, I was with you guys last night. You like to have a lot of fun. Next time somebody does a great job, just to go up and say, hey, great job. Really appreciate it. I want you to go up and say, you know what? That was overdrive, baby. That was wow. Yeah, it spells wow. This is mom. This is wow. Don't have a cow. Ooh. Boo. You'll use that. I know you will. So it's overdrive, right? That gets you to overdrive. That gratitude, it's the fuel, that emotional engagement, right? Little things you can do. Letter to the family, right? Handwritten notes. How many of you have received a handwritten note? And how many of you kept it? Of course you did, because it was personal, it was fun. When was the last time any of you wrote a handwritten note to somebody? I love you. Yes, more carrots over here. Yeah, you keep it. A half day off to spend with the kids. Scrapbook of memories. You know, John, Rolex watch. Nothing says I love you like Rolex, baby. Right? A pat on the back is different than a slap to the head. It's a spatial thing, right? He does not see that coming. And by the way, I know you guys are under a lot of pressure. I know with all the stuff that's coming at you every day, you want to make your day a little better, go recognize somebody. What did your mom tell you? Better to give than to receive. Because when you give, what? You always receive. You cheer them up, and it cheers you up. It's one thing I love about gratitude. Well, my favorite number, when you're happy and engaged at work, you're 150% more likely to be happy in your personal life. That ripple effect of gratitude, people take it home. And the opposite is true too. How many of you had that miserable job? And at the end of the day, you took it home. And who did you share it with? Your family. And when they were sick of hearing about it, you went out back and you kicked the cat. I'm just kidding. You can never catch a cat. Yeah. My point is, right? Send them home happy. That's one of your jobs. And everybody in the team matters, right? Right down to the what? Right down to the dishwasher. This is my favorite video of all time. I'm a big sports fan. If they're playing a game, I want to know who won, right? This is a high school basketball team in upstate New York. Found the perfect way to celebrate not their star player, but the team manager. Give a listen.
Greece Athena High School in Rochester, New York, has a new, most unlikely hero, a special ed student by the name of Jason McElwain.
Let's keep it going.
Jason is the basketball team manager. For the past couple years, he's been assisting Coach Jim Johnson, helping with whatever the team needs.
And go! Get them motivated and hand out water and just be enthusiastic.
Enthusiastic, to say the least. Despite being born with autism, Jason's father says his son has never had a problem expressing himself at basketball games.
You know, I was always concerned that he might get a technical and they lose a game because he, you know, start yelling or whatever.
Let's have a hard practice tomorrow, all hour and a half, and let's get ready for Arcadia. Let's go.
1, 2, 3, 2.
Because he has been so devoted to the team, for the last game of the season, Coach Johnson decided to let Jason actually suit up. Not to play necessarily, just to let him feel what it's like to wear a jersey.
At least that was the plan. But with 4 minutes to go in last week's game, Coach Johnson stood up and pointed to number 52, Jason McElwain. After years of fetching water and toweling off other people's sweat, Jason was actually in a game. His first shot was a 20-footer from the right baseline.
Was it close? Did you almost make it?
I just airballed it.
I'm like, just, dear God, please, let's just get him a basket.
His second shot missed too, but the third was a charm. A three-point no-doubter. And Jason wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot.
If I wasn't there to witness it, I wouldn't have believed it, you know.
You caught fire.
I just caught fire. I was hot as a pistol.
Jason ended up shooting 6 3-pointers, one right after the other. He had 20 points total, and each time a shot went in, his teammates and the crowd went a little crazier. His last basket, right at the buzzer, created total mayhem. Because he is autistic, Jason says he's used to feeling different, but never this different. Never this wonderful. Steve Hartman, CBS News, Rochester, New York.
Come on, give it up for Jason. I love that story. You know, that coach, he found the perfect way to recognize that kid. He gave him a chance to play. Did he deliver? That's a great leader. And then the sports fan in me kind of kicks in, and I think, that coach was an idiot. That kid should have been playing all year. He has money from behind the line, right? So who on your team needs that, you know, is deserving of that opportunity, right? That chance to grow and develop. You know, I love showing you that video of my mom and dad. My parents weren't married for 64 years, actually. They were married for 65. And shortly after their 65th wedding anniversary, my dad passed away. And he was my best friend. He was my biggest cheerleader, my first manager. And I was born in Edmonton, Alberta, and I'm 4 years old here, and he's teaching me how to skate. Now, if you're 4 years old in Edmonton and you don't know how to skate yet, the neighbors talk, right? Well, we moved to Vancouver when I was 10 years old, and we're a tennis family. And being the youngest of the family, I had my dad all to myself for about 4 years. And we had this ritual. We'd go play tennis Saturday morning. We'd go to McDonald's and get a McMuffin. And then he loved to go to the Army and Navy. You ever been, you know, distressed inventory, 10 cents on the dollar? It just closed in Vancouver. It was open for 103 years. They closed during the pandemic. So I'll never forget, beautiful summer day. If you've been to Vancouver, spectacularly beautiful city. Tennis, McMuffin, we're headed to the Army and Navy. Thing is, it's kind of a sketchy neighborhood called Gastown. So as we're going along, we had to go by Pigeon Park, where the homeless people kind of hang out. Sure enough, there was a homeless lady coming across the crosswalk, big brown paper sack with everything she owned. And when it got to the sidewalk, it actually split open and it spilled. Now, it wasn't anything you and I would ever want to own. It was everything she owned. And Vancouver's a walk-in city. It was really interesting. People gave her a wide berth immediately and kept going. She was invisible that fast to everybody except for my dad. I will never forget. He went right up to her right away, knelt down, gathered up her stuff. He said something made her laugh. And he escorted her into the park. Now, I'm a teenager now, right? So he comes back, and I'm watching this whole thing, and I said, Dad, you shouldn't touch those people. They are not clean. And he said something I'll never forget. He said, you know what, Chess? You be good to everybody. Everybody's having a tough day. I never forgot that. The thing I loved about my dad is if you were bagging his groceries, parking his car, or you were a captain of industry, he treated everybody the same, with respect and kindness, and more often than not, he'd say something made him laugh. So I leave that story with you because you're at this great conference, great food, ridiculously fun hotel, making new friendships, celebrating your successes, and you're going to go back to your teams, and the people that work with and for you, they're going to show up. And you know what you don't know? You don't know what they just came from. You don't know if they're worried about their kids or their parents or their checkbook. Here's what you do know. The time they spend with you, they can believe what they do matters, that they've made a difference, and when they made a difference, you noticed it and you celebrated it. You can do that. So I just got one last question. Are you going to take what we talked about here this morning? Will you take it back to your teams, and will you do it? That's not quite the response I was hoping for. Yeah. No. You know, at the end of the sermon, the preacher asked for an affirmation from the congregation. What does the congregation say? Can I get an amen? Can I get a hallelujah? Can I get a wow? I say we are. You say all in. We are. We are. We are. That is so much fun. I got the rest of this stuff, and I am not taking it home. Incoming. I got carrots. I got wristbands. I got rocks. I'm just kidding. Hey, my time is up. I'll give it back to Paul. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Cheers. Hey, oh, thank you very much. Thank you. You guys are awesome. I got this for you. You are, thank you. You guys are awesome. One last thing. You got to know somebody to get these. These are the official gratitude socks. Oh, I think it would really go well with what you're wearing.
Yeah, I think it would. Thank you.
Congratulations.